Good morning. Welcome to Real Estate Radio Denver, the most informative hour of radio of the weekend. And we're here every Saturday from 9 to 10 a.m. right here on News Talk 710 KNUS. Thank you so much for joining me. I'm your host, Tom Souther. And Real Estate Radio Denver is dedicated to building Denver's housing and credit marketplace. We are here to give you that timely truth about Denver's real estate and mortgage and credit markets, the truth that we feel you're just not getting from the national news outlets, and sometimes not even the local ones. But every now and then you get the right answer. But there's a lot of misinformation. We're here to help rebuild that Denver marketplace, and we do that one home at a time. We by giving you some great advice, a little education, and connecting you with professionals that can help you, whether that's selling a home or buying a home or a financial tip. Maybe you've got a credit issue that you need a little advice for. So within every market, there's some solutions, and there are just tremendous opportunities out there. We're seeing this marketplace change daily, and it's very, very exciting. You just need some trusted advice in getting through that maze of information, and that's what you'll hear every Saturday here on News Talk 710 KNUS right here at 9 to 10 a.m. So as always, I encourage you to call the show. We've got an off-air number. Leave us messages, and I would love to connect you with the right professional or answer that question. My expertise is the mortgage industry, and I love to answer your mortgage questions if you need some help or thinking about doing a refinance or looking at maybe buying a property and want to know what you can afford or what the next step is. I'd love to help you with that. That number off air again is 720-515-1818, 720-515-1818. You can text me and I'll return that call, or you can leave a voice message at that number. Either way is good. Also, please connect with us on Facebook at Real Estate Radio Denver. Love to have a few more friends, so please do that. And also, you can reach me via email at tom@realestateradiodenver.com, tom@realestateradiodenver.com. So it's been an interesting week, and lots of stuff going on. Rates are crazy, ticking up a little bit, and I don't want to give people the impression they missed it, but if you've been thinking about a refinance or you've been thinking about buying, there's no time like the present, and that is something I'd love to chat with you about. So again, 720-515-1818. We've got a really great show today. I've got a old friend on the show that I just met that I'm pretty excited about. I love her energy. I have Lori Pace. Lori is an agent, a real estate agent with Kentwood Cherry Creek. She's been in and around the business for now 10 years, Lori?
Yes, that's correct.
Awesome. Welcome.
Thank you.
And you have a broad background, which is pretty awesome for your customers because you've dealt in the commercial, you've bought and sold your own personal properties, lots of investing, even though you've moved over to the residential side relatively recently.
That's correct.
But your level of experience doesn't relate to just maybe less than a year on the residential side. You've been dealing with real estate off and on, or all through that process for 10 years.
Exactly. And selling residential all along the way while in commercial as well. After referring many people, it made a lot of sense to help these people instead of sending them to somebody else.
Sending them to someone else who you don't feel might not do the same job that you would do.
That's true. And, real estate to me is not really just my career. It's become my passion in my life. And so it speaks volumes. And my clients will tell you it's obvious. I have more information in my head than the average Joe. And it's information and facts that you would say to yourself, how do you know that? And it's from that experience of working in these deals and getting the deals done and getting it to actually close.
Yeah. And we just met recently, and I just love your energy in this business. And there's so many agents who have gotten beaten down in this industry for years and years and
They're
years.
Jaded.
And they've lost it. They've lost that glow, and you have it, and it's nice. And it's wonderful to meet and work with someone who is new and excited about the business and making it happen. So, some of the things that we wanted to talk about when we were kind of setting up for the show was, and we hit this a bunch, but I don't think we can say enough about it, is what's on the market and how many homes and how fast that market is, the pace, no pun intended.
Exactly.
Which, we have to tell everybody what your new tagline is.
Please do share it.
The pace that works for you, Lori Pace. The pace that works for you, and I love that. So, the pace of the marketplace is just off the chart right now. I was at a closing this morning, and I was talking to both of the agents at the closing, and one of them threw out this figure that I thought was just amazing. And we didn't talk about this, so I'm going to lob you a softball here, but. I was told there were 1,084 listings in the Denver Metro last month.
That is correct.
And 1,069 under contract.
That is true. And most deals are getting put under contract before they make it to the market. You know, within the brokerage community, we are calling each other to find out, what do you have coming on the market? What do you know? And we're making deals happen because there's no time for it to make it to the market. When it does, we're getting multiple bids. People are putting in bids above bids, and people are losing homes. And so there's not really a lot to choose from. Yeah,
and that was the amazing conversation between these two agents this morning was, well, I've got this buyer who's looking for this. Well, I have this listing, these 3 listings that I'm going to be doing the next week or so. Well, great. Tell me exactly what they're about. Exactly. They were both dealing in the same neighborhood because that's how deals get done right now. It's having an agent that's very well connected and that just knows that marketplace. The casual dabbler in this business has no chance.
And it's true, and you'll see that. There are obviously a lot of people who have their license and may even do it as a hobby, and they'll sell a house here or there for their family member. But really, the true brokers that are in the game and working at it every day, even the ones that were once rivals, are now working together because we have to. And it's actually made the industry better for everybody because we're able to have these conversations so that we can make sure that we're taking care of everything that needs to be taken care of for our buyers and our sellers. And, as brokers, we have to sell the house twice. We have to sell it to the broker, and then they sell it to their clients.
Right.
And so it's really exciting for us as brokers to see this frenzy happening because we're able to do that.
Yeah. I have Lori Pace in studio with me with Kentwood Cherry Creek. We have a great program for you coming up. We're going to talk about how do you be successful in that marketplace. You're listening to Real Estate Radio on 710 KNUS. Come right back. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver. I'm here in studio. I have Lori Pace with Kentwood Cherry Creek, the pace that works for you.
Yes, indeed.
I love that tagline. That is awesome.
I'm glad. And it really is true because some people are just feeling the waters and deciding, should I sell now or sell later? And you have to be comfortable. I mean, it might not be the right time to sell if you can't find that house that you're looking for on the other end. So some people want to do a fast sale and they want to know what's on the market today so they can make an offer tomorrow, and other people want to just get a sense of what neighborhoods they're in. So it really, you have to know, and the broker has to sense that.
And this is a little off script, but what are you telling your customers that aren't sure? Because this is not a market for them.
It is not a market for them.
No,
and I remind them it's not a tested. I let them knowing that you earn more when you learn more about your home.
Right.
And that means if you know what you need to be happy moving forward and you have a slight inkling, go for it now. Because if you're in a best case scenario, it's an investment no matter how you look at it. And that's going to bode well for you moving forward because you're getting your return immediately. And you're able to do this. You're getting free money, as you know, in the industry. And so if they're not sure, the best way to become sure is to speak with a broker and find out what the facts are so that you can determine what you need to do for your move.
Right, because, I guess the way to test the market and to spoil it for you is to go in high. I'm gonna list it high and see if I get that crazy offer, which and
and that's the worst thing you can do now.
I think so too.
It is, because if you go high and you're not getting any offers, you're missing out on all those people who are ready to close immediately.
Yeah.
And if they're legitimate, you're changing your home, and brokers start to realize that, and they won't even show the property.
No. And brokers I'm working with are having more luck with listing maybe a little, just ever so much low, which generates a huge feeding frenzy, and they end up overbidding.
Absolutely.
And you get the better price for your customer.
Absolutely. And as agents,
than you would by overlisting and
absolutely,
having somebody say, "Oh, this house is crazy, but it's really only worth this." So don't even mess with it.
There is math involved. I mean, we know what the sweet spot is, and if we can price it right, we know we can get those offers, and then we can negotiate it and adjust it accordingly. But if you don't know what the right number is, and you've got to realize that this is the time to put your house on the market, and if you don't want to move, this is the time to buy an investment property.
Well, let's talk about that listing. We kind of went off track a little bit here, but that listing, what are you telling your buyers, and what are you doing for your not buyers but sellers to make sure they're really successful, in that pricing scenario, and what do you do to help market that property to make it really go?
The first thing we do is obviously find out what is their situation with their home, because most of us don't know what our homes are worth right now. The market has adjusted so much. You have no idea if you really do have equity in your house or not, because a year ago, if you had an appraisal done for, even if it was to refinance, it was so different than it is today. And even an appraisal a month ago is not the same. And so you need to know where that is. And then we look in the area that you're around and seeing what are other houses going for, understanding what's on the market, what your house would be competing against. And really, it's about winning. And in this case, it's finding a win-win situation where figuring out how can we make your house the most competitive. And that being said, how can we go out and find the property that you're looking for and in winning that opportunity, and knowing all the facts about the neighborhood, particularly if it's a neighborhood that you're not currently in, and you need to know what that is. So really getting your house together and making it the most competitive.
Yeah, and it's not just the data. It's not just those data points that, this industry has gone from you as a real estate agent were the keeper of all that information to all of that information is out there on the internet. But if you don't know how to interpret it, if you don't know how to put that to work for you, it's just a stack of numbers.
You're absolutely right.
And I love the story you told me earlier. Maybe you can share that about the for sale by owner.
Yes.
Great story. Tell us what happened.
So there was a for sale by owner. There was very little on the market. So I spent a lot of time finding out what is not already listed.
Right.
And so an opportunity came up, and I surfed neighborhoods, and I saw this sign go up that morning, and I went by afterwards and I asked if I can see the property. And in doing so, I said, this is a beautiful home. The floor plan's great. You've done a lot of upgrades. There's so many things in this house that you can't find in this neighborhood. I said, I really think that you're pricing this a little low. And they said, well, we really want to make sure we sell. I said, that should be the least of your worry. It'll definitely sell. There's no doubt it'll sell. It's just a matter of finding that right price, but you owe it to yourself not to leave any money on the table.
Right.
And I said, I have no doubt this won't make it to the weekend. So I received a call last night saying, well, you were right. We did get several offers. We had 7 showings, and it turns out they were eager to give us the offer, the price that we wanted. And I said, that's because it was priced a little low. And then we upped it a little bit, and then they went $20,000 above that. So when it was all said and done, they said, but now the question is, now what do we do?
Right.
Now we have the problem.
Again, they had the data, but they didn't know where do we go from here?
And really that's where, as brokers, we come in, is getting the deal to actually close. You can get several offers. You might even get a cash offer. And through the inspection process and all the other things that happen and all the contingencies, you might not be able to actually get the deal closed. And you can miss out on a true buyer that had a broker that was representing that. We were having that conversation and we were talking about it so we can actually get it to the closing table. And there are many times where deals blow up the day of closing.
Yes.
Because all the I's aren't dotted and the T's aren't crossed. And a lot of that happens pre-closing. And those are the important things. And so as a result of this, they recognize the need now that, finding the house is the easy part. It's all the other finessing that goes on behind the scenes. And that's where we are able to now have a conversation, because now they're looking forward to getting a new home. And now their criteria has changed because of the experience they've just went through.
Yeah, it's an education for sure. And, just the process, if you're a for sale by owner, of knowing, having multiple offers in your hand and being able to decipher, how do you rank those?
Exactly.
which one's an offer that's going to close?
And even
which one's better, which one's worse?
And even the relationship. I mean, who's representing the deal that's coming to you? Is this going to be a relationship that's going to make this a fun process? Is this going to be a situation that's going to blow up? Or is it going to be, you need to know all those things, and just, knowing people in the industry makes a big difference in being able to do that. And even not knowing, you've been in your house house for 30 years, you have no idea what the latest floor plans are out there that people are buying. You want to know, are people buying more open floor plans, more contemporary, more traditional? And knowing those little things make a big difference when you're putting your house on the market, because someone can walk in and say, right now everybody's going for an open floor plan in this neighborhood, or people are looking for more traditional, they're looking for architectural features. And if you don't know what you're competing against because you're not in these houses every day, you just don't know. I mean, I'm in houses all day long, the ones that are on the market and ones that are coming on the market, so I have a good idea of what the competition is.
Yeah, and it's amazing in those neighborhoods, and particularly in Denver. I live in East Denver currently, and, our house, quite honestly, is dated, blah, blah, blah. That house, even though it's probably worth $300,000-$400,000, is a scrape.
And it's exactly, yeah. And
it is what it is. But, if we had an agent that came through and looked at that house, they'd go, you can spend $150 in here, or you can sell it as a lot.
Exactly.
Take your pick. You're going to end up at the same place.
Exactly. And even with new builds, I mean, there is an opportunity. People think that the house that they've been in, they built it to their standards. It's the cabinets they wanted. It's the height of ceiling that they needed, and they think this is it. And then when you start to see what's out there and you realize, wow, there's actually something better than my castle, and you start realizing the dollar value of what you can actually get now, that you can actually get, the counters that you downgraded to because it cost too much, you can now get that and then some because the value is so less. I mean, we talked about it this morning. If you're using money to leverage your purchase, you're, after taxes, at the end of the day, you're getting free money and you're getting more upgrades.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that in the next segment, where about that value of waiting and whatnot, because I don't... this isn't a time to push out in the marketplace. Yeah. This is a time, if you're thinking of upgrading or moving or being a first-time buyer, it's now.
Exactly.
It's definitely now. There's a lot of factors that go into that, and we're going to share each one of those with you here in the next segment. But let's go back to that seller. What else are you doing with them that helps them make sure they're maximizing those offers and selecting if you're in a multiple offer situation, which one's the best offer?
So one of the things that I just recently did, and I do this often, is I actually take my sellers, before we even talk about putting their house on the market, I go and have them tour the other homes in the neighborhood so they can get an idea of what their neighbors have and don't have and what's unique about their property. And then we start putting together actually a plan of action for marketing their home once we've determined how much value is there, and really figuring out how valuable is your home so that we can really put it on the market in a way that speaks volumes to people who are looking and kicking tires. You want people to stop kicking tires when they walk in your house and say, this is it. I don't know what it is about this house, but it's right. But if you have a chance to go out there and see what else is you're competing against, it really is about that. And it's not even just the price. If you have a home that has all those great characteristics and the house down the street has less than those characteristics and it's priced differently and it's a $10,000 difference, they're going to go with the character, the feeling, the situation, and the opportunity. And that is really important, because it's not just about the price right now. Because right now, price is really not even the true issue anymore. Whereas it used to be, it's all about the price. It's not about the price at all.
This is such an emotional transaction for everyone.
It really is.
The sellers, the buyers, everybody involved. That those are key. It's man, how does that make me feel when I walk in? When my wife and I bought our last house, we knew that was the house we were going to buy before we even walked in the door.
Yeah.
We just looked at all kinds of things online, and we kept going back to, that's the house, that's the house, that's the house. And we walked in, and that's the one we bought.
And
I think a lot of people do that, but they're not getting that one house because they're not, they've got to have that professional that helps them to do that really makes it easy for them.
You're right. And being a broker with a way of understanding how our market is now, working in a situation where people are looking for their homes online. At one point, as brokers, we saw that as competition, but brokers that really know the industry and understand that most people are looking ahead of time because they want to get a sense and they want to know, doing their own due diligence.
Right. What's my dollar by me in this neighborhood?
And you've probably looked up your home online online to see how much your house is worth, and you're looking at what's available. And a lot of times it's not, everyday information that you're getting through looking online, but then we can help you decipher through that information. And the part about being emotional, people always say, you look like you're having so much fun, because it truly is a passion. And so I try to make everybody realize that this can be a fantastic experience. It doesn't have to be stressful. Stress is naturally going to be involved because you're dealing with dollars and you're dealing with moving, and there's so much involved. But this really can be a very, very rewarding situation. And I've seen it time and time again where the stress turns into fun and you can't wait to go out and look for something else. And then you're excited and you can't wait to move when, 10 days ago, you had no desire to move and the thought of moving was daunting. And it no longer is daunting. It becomes an exciting roller coaster, and it's, a big win, and you have something to look forward to.
Yeah, to me, this business, whether on my side as the mortgage professional or your side as the agent, is about realizing that customer's dreams, helping them realize their dreams. And it is so rewarding to sit at a closing table with a new buyer or a first-time home buyer. I did one this morning. And they're just glowing.
It's amazing.
The husband was a little skeptical. He's like, "No, I'm very negative, and as soon as I have the keys in my hand, I'll be great." But you could tell they were so excited.
And it's fun to watch.
It's awesome to watch that.
It is. And, and I work with a lot of buyers, so this is not the first time to the rodeo.
Right.
And so it becomes a business decision, and we're looking at the numbers. And naturally, as an investor, when I am buying apartment buildings or I'm buying a single-family home, I'm looking at the numbers. But then when you can realize that meeting those numbers also is achieving those same goals, that is just as exciting as finding that perfect kitchen.
Yeah, it is on the investor side. And I've seen investors that are they're just beside themselves with a deal, a multifamily deal that they realize is going to cash flow. I had one a few weeks back that they found out literally at closing, doing the inspection the day before closing, that there were coin-operated laundry in the property that they didn't even know about. And it's no big thing, but it's like $150 in quarters that this guy gets every month. And he's like, oh, that's,
It's like a kid in a candy store, so it's a plus. And even with that vacation home, I mean, you had people who weren't sure if they wanted to list now, and now you sell and you can get your vacation home and your dream home.
Yeah. You're listening to Real Estate Radio Denver on News Talk 710 KNUS. Come right back. We're going to tell you about buying now versus later. Come on back. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver. I'm your host, Tom Souther, and I'm here in studio with Lori Pace, a real estate agent with Kentwood Cherry Creek. And Lori has many, many years of experience in the real estate business, but let's talk about that for a second, Lori. Just a broad background, because you were involved in architecture, and your family has a architecture firm business.
Correct. Yes.
And you told me you were also involved in planning, neighborhood planning, and whatnot, which is
the Denver Urban Renewal Authority. When when
incredible.
Stapleton was just a concept. I live in Stapleton now, and literally I was participating in it when we were determining what's going to be here. And now I'm seeing our 20-year plan come to fruition and watching it grow.
It's pretty cool out there.
It's really unique. And just having an opportunity to work on that side of the table is really helpful to the residents, so they're understanding, so what's going to happen with this house in this location now versus 5 years. It's huge.
Oh, I know. I wish I would have bought, like I told myself to 10 years ago, about 10 or 20 properties surrounding that area.
Yes.
But, whatever.
Right.
All my vision sometimes goes for naught. And bought and sold a lot of commercial property and investment properties, and now focused really on that residential experience.
Yes.
Which is fantastic. And last segment, we kind of hinted at that whole concept of, do I buy now, do I sell, or do I sell now, buy later? What's the right timing? And I think what I keep trying to get through people's heads is there is no time like the present.
So well said.
The way the market is going. And the pricing, yes, is increasing.
It is.
But it's increasing on both sides of your transaction, whether you're buying or selling or both. So what do you tell your customers when you're working, when they're thinking, or they're on the fence? When
you're on the fence, I mean, let's look at the numbers. If you're saving to buy your dream home, and you have these things on your bucket list of what you want in your dream home, and you're saving hoping that money is going to work for you, in the end, it's actually not going to, because when you go to buy that same home a year from now, and quite frankly, in this market, 6 months from now, it's going to cost you a lot more. So really, if you're going to sell now, you're going to be able to get that dream home now versus 5 years from now, because even though you have that money, whether it's in the bank or under your pillow, it's not going to work for you in the same manner. And so this is the time to sell so that you can get that. And even if it is buying property with an opportunity to grow, that location, I mean, we talk about it all the time in real estate. I mean, it's going location, location, location. Now is a perfect time to understand why that makes sense. Because if you're not buying in the right location right now and you're waiting till later on, just like the conversation we had with Stapleton, I should have done that. I should have did that. And you don't want to have those regrets. And I think anybody who does not buy or sell now will certainly have regrets. There's no doubt about it, because we'll never see this situation happen again in our lifetime.
That's right. And it's not just the price of the property. There's so many factors involved in that. The cost of money right now for mortgage money, assuming you're not a cash buyer, which I hardly can recommend these days, because mortgage money is almost free at the interest rates that we have today. But those rates are going up. If you look at the numbers, there's certainly been an uptick in rates over the last several months. And I don't see that trend changing. Ben Bernanke just 2 weeks ago put a little caution into the amount of money that the Fed is saying they're going to put into bonds, which keeps rates low. Rates are artificially low right now. They are not at a natural point.
Yes.
So as the economy increases and improves, they will stop investing in mortgage rates, and those mortgage rates will go up.
There's no doubt about it.
And the difference between, say, now and midsummer, I don't know where rates are going to be, but, rates are in the mid to high threes right now. If you wait and buy midsummer, you're looking at, let's just imagine that rates are a point higher, instead of mid threes, they're at mid fours by the end of the summer or midsummer. That's $100 a month on a 30-year mortgage.
And really, the inventory is going to be so different. You're going to be one of 500 houses in your neighborhood come July, which is historically the highest month for selling, versus now you're one of 3 on the market. Yes. And so from a strategic standpoint, that is why you sell now and buy now, because you can figure out where you have less competition and you can, make things happen for you. And it makes a huge difference in terms of what's happening over the next few months. And even, for example, let's give the example of Stapleton. Not a lot of people suspected this would happen, but Stapleton has quite a few shared homes, for example, where the fancy word for duplex, but they're nicer. Shared homes. So for an investor, someone who's not traditionally an investor and who's scared to be a landlord, you can now buy a shared home as an investor, rent out both sides or even live in one side, and you're cash flowing day one. Yeah. And the rents that you're going to see an increase in rents really moving quite fastly for the next couple of months. It's an investment opportunity that you never even thought about it. And you're not a slumlord. I mean, these are nice homes. These builders have done a bang up job of putting in these features that other people would have in their traditional home. You would walk into some of these shared homes and they would rival your personal residence.
Yeah. Yeah. And the other piece that most people probably don't know is that is treated, if you buy a duplex and you're going to live in one side, virtually the same as a single family residence. Yes. So it's not really any more difficult to buy that 2-unit property than it is a single unit property.
Well said.
If you're going to live in it. If you're going to rent both sides, a little different story. You need a little more down and whatnot. But if you're doing exactly what you say, buying one, renting out the other side, it's the same purchase.
Absolutely.
It's virtually the same purpose. And man, those numbers can really work for you.
Very true. I mean, and some people, when you think about investing, it has had a nasty connotation for a while. But let's look at the scenario of the Highlands or Cherry Creek. When we're talking about shared homes, duplexes, multifamily, we're looking at $1 million multifamily properties, and I'm talking about each side.
Right.
So in many instances, if you have a triplex and each unit's worth $3 million, do the math and you see what kind of investment that is moving forward. Same is true in the Highlands. There are some opportunities there where it was a single family home. Now you have an opportunity to put 4 units on a lot. And, again, being an investor / broker and background in architecture, these are things that when I drive by a property and I'm in somebody's home, my mind is already thinking what the potential is here. And then when I'm hearing your goals and what it is you want to do move forward, it might not just be finding your next home, but finding your next investment opportunity coupled with the purchase of your new home, which is going to change your financial structure moving forward.
Yeah. And one of the things I wanted to throw out here is just as those prices escalate, which they are going up, all the figures in Denver, they're going up month to month.
Yes.
And, if you're thinking of selling, again, now's the time, because you're looking at not just the escalation of price on what you're selling, your home, you sell your home, and yes, you'll probably sell it for more 3 months from now or 6 months from now. But the flip side of that is you're going to upgrade, particularly if you're moving up into, a higher price range.
Yes.
Those higher price ranges are taking off.
Completely.
And they're going to escalate as much or more than the one you're selling.
You're right.
So the concept of waiting because I'm going to get a better price is ridiculous, because you're going to have a worse price on what you're going to buy, and you potentially have a much higher interest rate.
Absolutely.
If you're financing. So
yes.
It's a double whammy on both of those. That right now it's a unique time to make that upgrade or to
yes.
move to the neighborhood you really want to live in. Maybe it's the same price or less.
Yes.
But
it's
that opportunity is a better deal.
I mean, look in Greenwood Village, for example. I mean, the $1 million mark, those homes have been sitting on the market 300, 200, 400 days. That's no longer the case. And the reason being is people realize the investment opportunity. And so our $1 million plus mark is moving at a, no pun intended, really all pun, is at a much faster pace. I mean, these $1 million properties that were sitting are no longer just sitting there.
And that's the pace that works for you.
Indeed it is.
I have Lori Pace with Kentwood Properties here with me. I'm sorry, Kentwood Cherry Creek.
Yes.
Not Kentwood Properties. And gosh, we're having a great discussion about how to make that market work for you. And man, there are so many opportunities.
Yeah.
I hate to see people miss them.
I agree.
It pains me.
It does.
I have a very good friend who's finally buying. He got burned on a house in California, and I've been telling him, you've got to buy. You've got to buy. You've got to buy. He's been renting, and no, it's not my time. And I just spoke with his realtor this morning, and the price range that now they're looking in, they could have bought a year ago, and now they need to go another 10 or 20. 10 to 20 grand. Hey, you're listening to Real Estate Radio Denver on News Talk 710 KNUS. We'll be right back. Don't miss a minute. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio Denver. I'm here in studio with Lori Pace from Kentwood Cherry Creek. And Lori has been in and around these real estate transactions in various forms and fashions for 10 years now. And just a wealth of information about what's going on in some of these neighborhoods and markets, and how do you get your house really done, sold, and what's the advantage of now versus later. And man, we keep trying to beat this into everybody's head that now is a great time.
It is. Now
is such a sweet time to make things happen in the marketplace. Just in my neighborhood, it seems like in the last 3 or 4 weeks, I've seen so many more sale signs.
Oh, yes.
And even the $1 million plus properties. One just moved in our neighborhood in probably 3 or 4 weeks.
Yep.
And
in the $1 million,
that wasn't happening.
In the $1 million price range plus, those deals are really happening before they even get to the market.
Yeah.
I mean, because it's such a unique type of transaction that we are having those conversations, because we have those buyers that have been waiting to get that property, and they've been waiting to sell theirs, and now they have that chance to do that. And we as brokers, we have those buyers just, waiting to make something happen, and we are having those conversations with each other.
Yeah, I'm sure this particular house was just a slam dunk for somebody. I mean, it was at minimum a double lot, if not a triple. Has a huge vacant lot.
Yes, and if you're on a big
yard,
lot, if you are on
a giant house as well, and it's like, wow, and you're 10 minutes from downtown, and I'm sure, and obviously that's why it just went. Because there isn't, you just can't find, it's very difficult to find that.
And if you're in a home in a Denver Square and you're on a big lot, you should have called me yesterday. I'm telling you, that is more important than the home itself. I mean, your lot goes a long way.
Well, it's amazing. I've seen, there was no scraping going on for the last 3 or 4 years, and a house disappeared in our neighborhood last week.
In seconds.
Literally, it was there, and
it'll reappear just as quickly.
Yeah,
strangely enough.
I walked my dog about a week ago, and I was like, well, there was a house on that corner, I swear, yesterday, and there was not a brick, a scrap of wood, anything. There was just bare dirt and 2 giant trees, and it's like the aliens sucked that house up out of the neighborhood. It was amazing.
And that background in architecture, what is so beautiful about the new builders now is that you'll walk by and say, has that house always been here? They have been so good at really bringing these homes back and feeling the neighborhood out and using those same characteristics. And that lot that was an eyesore for so many years now becomes the turning point of the neighborhood. And now it is okay to have the best house in the neighborhood.
I love that you just said that, because there's 2 houses in my neighborhood that obviously the same person built. Some investor built 2 identical, with the typical, mirror image. One has a whatever on the roof and the other one doesn't, but they're identical.
Yes.
And I just want to slap somebody.
Yes.
Because why?
Right.
Would it have been that much harder for you to spend a couple of $1,000s to have the architect make those, 2 plans?
Right.
And have something unique? Because I would never, ever buy one of those 2 houses.
Right.
And I think most people, a lot of people would go the same way, going, why would I move here in a unique neighborhood to have a house exactly like the one next door?
And, and speaking to what we were talking about earlier on, if you're going to buy now, if you're even thinking about a custom home, you have to buy now. You are going to be able to get a custom home built now in a way that you couldn't have before. And if you're in a tract home situation and you wanted to have something a little different and unique, the builders are ready again. I mean, the life of spec homes has changed, and you can get that custom home on a perfect lot done for the same price as the tract home, 5 years ago. I mean, it's unbelievable what can happen today.
Yeah, and they're roaring back into business.
Absolutely.
So I don't know how long that window of opportunity is there, but I think you're right. And I haven't numbered any of these out. I'm sure you have.
And I love them.
And, you've got to find a place to put it.
Yes.
Which is a struggle. The anecdote history or stories that I'm hearing, Wash Park, you're looking at $500,000 for a scrape.
Yes.
Easily.
But you're going to gain it back very quickly.
Yeah.
I mean, very much so.
So there's a lot going on. We were talking about, hold versus or buy now, sell, when's the right time. And one of the topics we wanted to talk about was, can I keep my home and rent it? Do I have to sell? Give us some of the advice that you would give your customers if they're thinking about that. How do you really make that analysis if you're a seller?
There's a couple different ways to look at it. I mean, if you know or have a sense of what's renting in the neighborhood and the price point for it, and in most cases, even if you decide I'm going to refinance and keep my home and get it at a 3 or 4%,
right.
Now you're in a situation where if you were to rent that house, you can cash flow. Now you're in a situation that you can now buy something else and you can cash flow. So now you have some additional income coming. And the reality, everything is adjusting itself anyway. So you're going to see the rents are going to continue to rise for years to come.
Do you have figures on what the rents are doing?
The rents...
I have a gut, but I don't know if I have a statistic.
So give you an example. I mean, right now the rental rates, we have seen in Denver over the last 6 months, typically the increase has been at anywhere between 4 and 10% just in the last couple of months.
Right.
And what that looks like over a year's time, the same property that you could have rented for $1,600 last year is now going for $1,900 with multiple bids.
Yeah.
Now, the scenario of multiple bids in rental is unheard of.
It's crazy.
And it's happening every day.
I've had customers buying a rental, literally putting that listing in Craigslist the week before the closing.
Yes.
And having people take it sight unseen.
Yes.
In decent Denver neighborhoods, in Baker and wherever.
Exactly.
People are so desperate they don't even want to look.
Right.
They're like, it's in that neighborhood. I don't care I'm just taking it.
Yeah,
$1,200, fine.
Right.
$1,500, fine. It's fine.
Or even a neighborhood like Watch Park, where you're in a Denver square where you don't have a lot of square footage. You can rent that property right now. You can get a newer home in a different neighborhood, and you have more square footage, and you're renting the property, cash flowing, you're getting into something else, and then you can go back to that same lot a couple years from now, pop the top, become a whole different scenario. So it really becomes a whole strategy that we can put together. If you're not going to sell now, let's at least look at the strategy so we can determine when to implement each of these areas.
Let's target a neighborhood that's on the upswing versus stable at the top.
I mean, who would have thought Highlands would have turned into what it has now?
Gosh.
Think of the people who bought in Highlands a year ago and what they could buy today.
I'm doing a refinance on one that was bought 3 years ago, and they've, I expect, and they're paying mortgage insurance on this thing, and I know that house, that home that they paid $280 for is now worth in the neighborhood of $400.
Oh yeah.
And it's ridiculous. I'm going to save them $350
Absolutely.
on their refinance, going from the mid fives down to high threes.
Yeah.
And dropping mortgage insurance because those values are just off the chart.
And on the flip side, I mean, you could be in the Highlands and move into all that's being built in downtown. I mean, people's needs and desires are different. I mean, not everybody needs a 6,000 square foot house now when you can have, quite frankly, a beautiful loft in Denver with some of those same characteristics with less square footage, but a different lifestyle. I mean, no more sitting on the highway in hours and hours of traffic where you just walk out your door and you're in I mean, Denver has changed. I mean, having been with Denver Urban Renewal and literally working on these loft projects and seeing a whole new city being built now. Now we have the restaurants, we have the retail, and now the housing is coming back.
Well, now that you've gone there,
let's go there.
It's amazing what people want now versus 10 years ago.
Yes.
The suburban dream it's right for some people, but the vast majority, or particularly younger buyers, they don't want any part of that.
Yes. And it is very specific, and it used to be specific.
And what are they looking for? What do they want?
It used to be specific to age group, but I'll give you a scenario right now.
That age group is expanding rapidly.
The school district issue of finding a home in a right school district used to be an issue. It's become one of the selling points now for properties. I mean, you can't get into East High School if you try now. People are buying investment properties, homes, whatever you can just to get a child at that school. On the flip side, if you're going to a school that's got a great sports program or a great pre-collegiate program, and it's out in the suburbs and you've always lived in the city, it's worth it to you to go out to the suburbs to get your kids in that school.
Yeah.
Because I'm telling you now, I have school-age kids and they're waitlist to get into schools for 5 years from now.
Well, it's funny you mention it. My significant other's son just won the lottery and waitlisted and got out of district into East High School.
It's unbelievable.
And it was like Christmas for him.
I mean, as brokers,
actually,
we speak weekly, and it comes up every week. Does anybody have anything near East? I mean, that is the conversation we have, not what type of property. I mean, they just need to get their foot in the door and get in on that waiting list, you know, so they, and you're seeing a different type of buyer going out to the suburbs. You have people who travel more. They want to be near the airport. They're changing, what they thought was the ideal home.
Well, and we bought out because we wanted horses and we wanted property and whatnot. And I'm very happy to be back, central again.
Yes, it's huge.
So,
and
it's different lifestyle for different folks, but that city life, that walk to where you want to be, having the restaurants in your neighborhood, being able to walk down the street for coffee or, whatever that is off the charts right now in people making buying decisions.
And I mean, and just a helpful hint, good for the group type of statistic. I mean, if you look at the neighborhoods surrounding the Denver area, Highlands being an example of it, the type of properties that are going in there now are different. So if you're in one of those neighborhoods or thinking of buying in those neighborhoods, I guarantee 5 years from now, it'll be a Highlands situation. Yeah. If it's anywhere within walking distance or a quick jog downtown, that's where to be. And if it's a loft situation, if you are out in Highlands Ranch, buy one of those lofts downtown and make that your investment property or your property go downtown to after dinner, after a show. I mean, it's the whole city's changed.
Hey, you're listening to Real Estate Radio Denver here on News Talk 710 KNUS. I have Lori Pace from Kentwood Cherry Creek here with me. And man, I would love to put you together with Lori. Please, she can help you if you're thinking of selling, figuring out what's the right move. Do you flip your property into a rental? How do you price out all of those things? How do you leverage that information that you can pull off the internet? Because it's just daunting what's there. Please call the show off air and I will put you together with Lori. You can reach us at 720-515-1818. Again, 720-515-1818. And I would sure love to put you together with Lori Pace with Kentwood Cherry Creek. You can text me. I'll shoot you her contact info, any way to get you together. Again, that number, 720-515-1818. 1818, 720-515-1818. And we've got a couple minutes left. We were talking about some of the earlier on the break, which nobody else heard, about new builds.
Oh my goodness, it's so exciting. I mean, it's so, and the type of things that are being built now, I mean, it is phenomenal. The features that are being put into homes, I mean, the wish list of what you thought was impossible. I mean, again, the builders are getting their money for less and they're leveraging so they can put more of those custom feels into homes that used to not have that opportunity because they can take advantage of that well. So that being said, not knowing where these new builds are is unfortunate for those who aren't in the know, and the best way to find that out is to speak with a broker. Speak with someone who is literally fascinated by that and is spending moments looking at those opportunities and going into all those builders. Sometimes it's being able to compare what the different builders have to offer. That's the information that's in my head that I can answer very quickly.
Well, that's what most people don't realize is, I have a relationship with a real estate agent, but I'm thinking about buying a new build, so I'm going to jettison my relationship and go talk to a builder without that agent, and that is a very big mistake.
Agreed.
You should have some representation there. They can help you through that process. They know what's going on and what the neighborhoods are and what all the pieces are. Let them help you do that. Yes. It does not cost you anything.
It doesn't cost a thing, and you really need a third party, a liaison, somebody in between to let you know what features are going to be resellable.
Yeah, you do. Lori, thank you so much. Lori Pace for coming in.
Thank you. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening to Real Estate Radio Denver. Please give us a call, 720-515-1818. I will put you together with Lori. Text us, 720-515-1818. Thanks.
Thank you.